Hey there. I am Khuze Siam. I run a company called Siam Computing. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the journey we've had and hopefully by the end of it, take some questions that you might have on your startup journey and your startup process. I have some notes that I will be referring to while I talk to you guys, and hopefully you find this interesting and useful. All right, so basically, I graduated from a college called Crescent Engineering in 2010. Um, Similar to some of you guys, I was BE computer science engineer. I have been into computers fairly early. Through my life, I've been building simple websites. So I got into computer science engineering. Similar to a lot of what you guys must be experiencing, engineering is not as fascinating as it is has been made out to be. Um, Through my college years, most of my education honestly happened through the events that I attended outside. And from Crescent, I graduated in 2010. I joined a company called Inotics. What I'm going to basically do is take 10 minutes to sort of tell you about my journey so far, and then I can talk to you about more insights. I graduated in 2010. I joined this company called Inotics. Inotics is a fintech banking sort of a company. So we used to work for a client called Bank of New York Mellon. Now, luckily, I was part of this team. So we were about 50, 60 trainees that had joined, freshers that had joined. And luckily, we were part of this team that, 1 month into the training, about 15 of us were chosen to be part of this product refactoring, which is at that time in 2010, cloud was still fairly new, and people were looking to go from desktop applications to cloud applications, right? So the CEO of that organization picked out freshers right outside, and we had this really interesting team. We had all these managers and senior architects who were part of this team, and these 15 of us, and we were given this task to rebuild an entire desktop application into the cloud. Now, this is really where I think the true education of engineering came to be. I think I was very lucky to have found such a team and such an organization, and we were really exposed to a lot of aspects of technology, aspects of business, aspects of working in a team. Anyway, so in about 9 months, we took this product, which was a desktop-based application, made into a cloud-based application. And we used to work crazy hours, 14 hours a day, and somehow got this through. And at the end of this, the CEO, who I don't think I want to say expected to see this come through, was surprised and flew down. He took us all out for lunch, and was basically talking to us about how we have accomplished this. And the next 2 months, they scaled up the team from about 18 of us to about 70 of us. And interestingly, what happened at this point is the 15 people who were part of the original team, out of the 15, I think about 9 or 10 of us left, all for the reason that you made us work really hard. We are doing something new, something innovative, and now since the team has expanded, we had to get into maintenance. And I was also part of the team that left. I left that. I wanted to do my MBA, and I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My mom runs her own boutique. My dad has his own iron and steel hardware shop. My mom said the best way to for you to figure out how to run a business is to go work in a business, right? So I went to my uncle's business in Cochin. I shifted streams completely. I went from software to working with ship vendors. We used to do ship deliveries on the ship, and it was a crazy time. I handled three main companies. One was L&T, the other one was Shapoorji Pallonji, and the other one was Dredging Corporation of India. All of them had different attributes that were needed. I did that for a long while, and this is something that I want to say at this point, that a lot of the times we believe that this is it. I don't think I can do anything more and further. I remember very clearly it was 2012, and I had stopped working in IT for about a year and a half. A lot of my friends who had worked with me had gone on to get into senior positions, and since I was not in IT, I felt like I could. There was no way I could get back into IT again, into software. But then I remember very clearly fighting that thought process in my head, saying that it's okay. I'm sure some of you will agree that you look at your friends and they have made a lot of progress, and you will feel like, हाँ यार, तब कर लेता तो अच्छा होता, या अब मुझसे नहीं होगा, whatever it is, right? So I remember feeling that way very distinctly at that point, and but I told myself that it's never too late to start, and I quit that hardware business. It was a good business. We were making good money. I was making good money, but there was no personal satisfaction in doing that. So 2012, basically, I quit that and started this company called Siam Computing. What do we do at Siam Computing? We build technology products for other growth stage startups or for enterprises that are looking to scale up. We basically work with organizations that want to grow exponentially and disrupt their industry. So we did that I did that in 2012. So the journey basically started in 2012 April. It was just me. I had about 50,000 rupees in savings. I took a loan for about 2 lakh rupees, bought 3 computers, put up an AC, rented out a small space, and uh, started looking up for projects, right? And I remember the first project that they ever got was this website project from a friend who runs a large manufacturing company, right? I think this is the first real lesson that we got, which is he wanted a website, and I said, yeah, I know how to do this. I'll build this for you. None of us talked about commercials or finances, and over the next 3 months, I really killed myself doing this. And I know I've met a lot of early stage startup founders, and they also have a sort of shy talking about numbers and finances, especially if it's your first customer. And typically, there's a saying, right, that your first customer is either going to be friends, families, or fool. So a friend of mine decided to sort of give us this project. I worked for 3 months, built out this website. I was really stoked. I built out several features into the website, and then when the time came for payment, I went and said, "Hey, this is going to be 30,000 rupees," and he was taken aback, and he was like, "Hey, I can." There are a lot of people in the market who do websites for 3,000 rupees and 5,000 rupees and all that, and that itself, I think, was a rude shock. First up, which made me understand and realize that you can't really do business without really talking numbers and finances and having expectations set very clearly. So we did that. I understood that that conversation about payment went on for some time, and then he made the statement saying that, "Hey, if you since you built this website for me, I'll go around telling people that you are in the website development business, and that will get you more orders, right?" I'm sure a lot of friends have said this to you um, in good interest and good belief. So this guy said the same thing, and I was again taken aback, and I said, um, "Why don't you give me one of your flanges?" He used to manufacture these massive flanges, and I said, "Why don't you give me one of these flanges, and I will go around telling people that you manufacture flanges." And I think with that statement, he understood and got the point. Um, so that was in April 2012. We started Siam Computing. Till about 2014, it was largely me and one more person who was working with us. And I think in 2014 is when I made my first trip to the US. And I remember seeing this very interesting interview. So in this interview, there was this lady um, interviewing Bill Gates, right? And Bill Gates, I think, was one of the richest person in the world at that point. And she wanted to basically show how greedy Bill Gates was, right? So she asks Bill Gates in this interview that, hey, you're walking down the street and you see $100 bill, $100 note. What would you do, right? And to everybody's surprise, Bill Gates said, I will not pick it up, right? And then he went on to explain that I will not pick it up because I make $1,000 a second. I don't remember the exact amount, but X amount of money a second. The amount of time I will spend to bend down and pick it up will be more than the amount of money I'll make in just picking that $100 note. Right? So $100 note is less than $3,000 that I will bend down and pick it up. The core lesson that he was trying to explain at that point was that you cannot be the person who is doing everything, right? So you need to figure out um, what the value of your time is, and then based on the value of your time, build a team around you and delegate tasks and go on for the bigger fish. So 2015 we started, 2014 end we started expanding our team. So from one we went to about 30. Right now in 2019 we are at about 49 employees. We have two branch offices. I am in the branch office very close to the beach in Chennai, in an area called Besanagar. And we have one more in an area called Broadway. So Siam Computing has been going well. The key lesson that I think that I understood in Siam Computing was build a world-class team, invest in your team, invest in your people, make sure that learning is a culture in the organization, ongoing continuous learning. And we'll talk about that a little bit, uh, about the importance of learning very soon. The second company I started was this company called Hisabing. Now, Hisabing was this product we built to, if you've been to a lot of the hardware markets in the respective cities that you are, all of these hardware markets still run on paper pencil or run on tally. And we wanted to disrupt this market, and we said that, hey, can we find a way to bring some sort of technology intervention here? So we started building out this product, and again, I think I didn't learn from my first mistake. Um, I was like a typical engineer, right? I was very feature focused, saying I'll build feature A, feature B, feature C. After feature D, I'm sure customers are going to start using my product. And for the longest period, for I think about a year and a half, we did not have a pricing model, right? We were just building this and putting it out for free. And I think in a year we got about 1,000 odd users, 1,000 odd companies using Hisabing. And good sense prevailed after some point. I think more than just good sense, the fact that we had to start paying bills prevailed, and we figured out that we need to obviously definitely have a clear pricing policy. So we said that, hey, 10 rupees a day is what we will charge for businesses. You find a lot of value. We have built so many features. You should pay us 10 rupees a day, right? And that came to about 3,650 rupees. Now, of the 1,000 odd users that were using a product, only 12 of them pay, right? And I think this was the core central lesson number two, which is again, the value that you create should not be the value that's in your head, but that value should be translated from what your customer is willing to pay. And um, till you get somebody to pay up, right? That is an open question, right? Once you put out the pricing and somebody is buying and paying actual money, that's when an exchange of value has happened. Right? A sale is basically an exchange of value. You're giving them something that you built with your time and energy and thought, and in exchange you're asking for some money. Till you're really not asking for money, it's just one-sided transaction, right? So that was a core lesson that we had with Hisabing. One of the third companies, and Hisabing, I would be honest to admit, is not a success. It was, in my opinion, a failure. We were not able to scale up. We were not able to figure out the monetization, and that's that. And that was a key takeaway, right? Like, figure out your audience, figure out what they're willing to pay for it, Don't be very feature centric. Don't be engineering focused, saying I'll solve A, B, C, D, E problems. Don't build something that's so complex and so feature rich that it really does not solve a simple problem for your customer. Right? Your customer needs to be front and center into everything that you do, and this also we will talk about very soon. The third company that I didn't really found, but I helped for a bit, was this company called Startups Club. In Startups Club, I used to take care of the technology aspect. We went from about three cities, Chennai, Bangalore, and Hyderabad, to about 20 cities. At this point, we have about 25,000 members. I no longer play an active role in Startups Club, but I was there with them for about 2.5, 3 years. With Startups Club, the key takeaway and lesson was that as long as you have crazy ambition and as long as you have drive, anything is possible. So this company was founded by two good friends, Salma and Vivek, and what started off as just a meetup group from a coffee shop evolved into a platform that I think is one of the premier destinations for early stage startups, right? Like if you are serious about starting up between 0 to 3 years, Startups Club is a platform that will facilitate your growth story. So I was part of this story, and I think the key takeaway: we've had tough times, we've had crazy issues, but just the vision and the drive that hey, this is possible. India is a land of entrepreneurs, and we need to make this happen. Is what really drove us there, and the results are there for them to speak. So these are the three organizations I helped found. Now, Siam Computing, going back to the first one, um, is not has not always been no business, right? Has is always going to be roses. It's definitely not that easy. Somebody once told me that um, if you are, as a founder, if you don't question why you became an entrepreneur every 3 months, then you're not working hard enough or you're not doing the right thing. And I found that very amusing because um, whenever I speak to several founders, that's a common conversation we have as to why the hell are we doing this, because it's not easy. All the challenges, all the rejections, all the self doubts. It's not. You need to have something special to be able to make it. Right. So 2017 was not a pretty year for Siam Computing. We had some massive losses. We had clients who didn't end up paying us. We had some key team players leave because of that. In fact, there was a point where we were not able to meet monthly salaries, and we were doing salaries in two parts. We would pay the first part on fifth, and the second part around 15th or 18th. And it was not a pretty year. Lot of stress, and there was definitely a phase where I used to every day think as to why am I doing this, and should I really be continuing, and why shouldn't I just go out and get another job? So basically, what I want to do at this point is share three things, right? At that point, that I told myself that we will implement, and I think from there on, there has been a significant positive uptick. Just last week, we opened a new branch. We have some really cool people that work for us now, and our revenues have grown significantly. And this year, we are looking to double our revenues, right? So, three core things that change the equation is what I would like to share with you. The first one basically is, I want to share a story of how humans have evolved, right? So, if I read this book recently called *Sapiens*, right, and it was a very interesting book, and it talked about how we are not the only humans that walk this earth. So we are called Homo sapiens, and sapiens basically means wise. But there are Neanderthals and Homo erectus and all these people before us, right? And Homo erectus, interestingly, I think survived for about 2 million years. We are still on the 200,000, 300,000 mark as a species. I'm not sure the numbers, but that's somewhere around there. So coming back to what we did first, right? The first thing that we said was we need to focus a lot on the aspect of learning, right? We had this mentor who came and taught us three very interesting things. So the first one he said was, you need to know what you know, right? I want to repeat that again, which is, you should know what you know, which is, I know how to code, and you should know that really well because you should be able to tell that and sell that skill to other people, right? So that's the first insight that he gave us: know what you know. The second insight that he gave us was, you should. It's important to know what you don't know, right? I know that I cannot fly a plane, and I'm very clear about it. And you should not have any doubts or fake yourself. That hey, sometimes I've seen a lot of people. They'll be sitting in a conversation in a group, and somebody will be like, "Hey, AngularJS is so cool," and there'll be other people who'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the technology. हाँ सुना उसके बारे में पता है मुझे." While I mean I've been guilty of this. While I really don't know what it's about, but I'll still fake it, right? Because I don't want that awkward social conversation. But I think at that point, it's important to acknowledge and be true to yourself and be like, "Huh, I know that I don't know this." But the game changer really is with the third feedback that he gave us, right? Which is, you should know what you don't know. All right. Sorry, the third one is, I don't know what I don't know. All right. Let me repeat that again. It says, I don't know what I don't know, which means um, I don't even know what it takes for me to start up, right? And I don't even know what it takes for me to start up and be successful, right? And when you want to play in that area, what do you have to do, right? And the answer essentially is to expose yourself, and which is the second thing we started doing, right? What we did a lot was we sent out our team and myself and the core management team, and we said, hey, we don't know these things, but there are these people, there are these um, thought leaders, there are these people who have achieved these things. Let's go hang out with them, right? And let's see what they are saying. Let's hear what their conversations are like. Let's get a peep into their mindset. So we started doing that. We started meeting people, and then we also said that we will be true to ourselves. That when they say these keywords, right? When somebody says, "What's your churn rate?" or "What's your revenue growth like?" Right? Like we will not fake it and be like, "Ha ha, mujhe pata hai." We will then be true to ourselves and say that, yeah, I know that I don't know this, and I will take time and effort to understand and learn that. So we started doing that, and meeting people, understanding how their thought process, mind works, really changed um, who we are. The second thing that we implemented that changed the growth story of Siam Computing was the company that you keep. Right? The first one was learning, and a clear emphasis on learning. The second is on um, essentially on the company that you keep. Now, there is this guy called Andrew Carnegie who said that on his tombstone it's written that here lies a man who knew how to be around men who are cleverer than him, right? And that really has been the essence with which we have been building teams. That we said that we want to find ways in which we can hire people or be with people who are smarter than us, because essentially, our moms would, when we are young, would keep saying that uh, if you hang out with such and such people, to be ऐसा ही हो जाएगा, बुरी संगत का असर है, etc. Right? And that is very true when it comes to defining who you want to be as a person. It's called the law of averages. You become an average of the company that you keep. Right? I want to say that again. You essentially are the average of the company that you keep, and it's very important how you build your inner circle and who you really hang out with, especially if you want to get somewhere in life. So we started doing that very consciously. Started changing our social circle, started changing the team that we have, invested a lot in our people. The third thing that we started doing, that I think again was part of our growth story, was learning how to communicate better, right? Learning how to tell our stories better. Now, going back to the whole Homo sapiens example, um, one of the key differentiator for humans as such, the species that we are, sapiens as such, is that we developed how to communicate and tell stories, right? So a monkey, if there's a lion, let's imagine there's a forest and a lion walks in. A monkey can say, "Hey, look, lion," right? And that's all it can do with the limited language skills that it has. Versus a human, right? We develop cognitive skills and we are able to say, "Hey, look, there's a lion behind a tree, and it's alone. So if you go around this path, you might be able to avoid it and get to where you want to go." And this essentially was very important while we were working together in a team, that you learn how to communicate and you learn how to tell your story better. So these are the three things that we implemented within our organization. First was learning, meeting, and then communicating. Right. Um, so these guys have also asked me to speak a little bit about um, what is the definition of a startup, and I think it's an important discussion to have. A lot of people I've seen confuse the difference between what is a startup and a new business. I've seen people start a new restaurant or a new tea shop and say like, "Hey, we are a new startup." I want to fundamentally disagree with that and say that that's really not it. So the definition of a startup, in my opinion, is either of the three things, or it could be a combination of these three things. If you have any of one of these three things, right, if you're doing that in your business, then I think you could safely call yourself a startup, right? The first one essentially is innovation in business model. So to be very honest, Siam Computing is not a startup, right? We are in a services business. We have tried building startups, Hisabing, Reka, Startups Club. These are the startups that we've worked with. But Siam Computing is most definitely a business. Um, So what is a startup, right? What are the three parameters which you can use as a guiding factor to determine if you're a startup or not, right? The first one is if you have any sort of innovation in your business model, right? And the example that I would like to give is of Uber, right? So taxi services have been around before, but here's a company that said that, hey, the innovation that we're going to be doing is that we are not really going to own any inventory. We're not going to own any cab, and we're just going to be using technology to connect on the fly cabs with people who need a cab, right? And that essentially that change in business model allowed them to scale multifold, right? And they were not limited by having to hire or buy these cars and service them and all of that. So if you have any sort of innovation in your business model, where you've changed the equation or you've changed the way you're doing business, then that is the first fundamental rule. The second one is opportunities of scale. If you're working at a scale that's unprecedented, right? Like let's take the example of WhatsApp or Oyo, right? Um, WhatsApp, I think, has about 1 point something billion users, and if you have as many users using your product, then it's something that you've been able to achieve and do at scale. And if your business is able to do that, then it's safe to call yourself a startup, right? In the true definition of what I think a startup is. And innovation, and finally the third parameter, right? Innovation in technology, right? If you are able to use technology to scale up and scale up rapidly, or use technology if you're a biotech company, or if you are doing something that's never been done before and it's truly innovative, if you can get some patents around it or some sort of uh, let's say something. If you've heard of a company called Palantir, or if you've heard of a company, um, Palantir is a good example, which uses data science to give unique insights to government agencies, right? So they were the first ones to do this, and they're truly innovative. There's a company here in IIT Madras that build reusable blocks of houses that they can take and assemble and put it near construction sites, right? So all of this is innovation, and by that definition is what you can call yourself a startup. So if you're either innovating in business model, if you're operating at an unprecedented scale, or you're innovating in technology, one of these three things, and then you can definitely call yourself a startup. Um, I've also been asked to talk a little bit about what are the basic mistakes startups should avoid. Um, And the first one essentially was very essential, was very important for us as well, which is having the ability to focus. Um, so I think one of the few things when Johnny Ive, the chief designer at Apple, when he did this interview of Steve Jobs after he passed away, um, he said that one of the only lessons that Steve Jobs ever asked me to do was to have unprecedented, clear focus of what you don't want to do and things that you want to do. It's very easy, right? Especially as I've worked with college kids, I've seen that there's a new technology, there's this new product, there's this new company, there's this new startup that I want to be part of, and everything is exciting. I've been there. I've been like this kid in a candy shop where everything seems to be the thing that I want to do. But if you look at anybody who's reached anywhere, they've done that because they had unwavering, unflinching focus on what they really wanted to achieve. So, focus definitely is one of the key metrics I would strongly urge you guys to uh, put behind. You guys are in college, you have a lot of time ahead of you. Take one thing, run with it. It's okay even if it doesn't work out, but that experience will make you richer for sure, and you will be able to say that you did this or you didn't do this because you were in it 100% full time. I don't believe that you can do half-hearted attempts at something if you're really passionate about it. Go after it, make mistakes, it's fine. If you're building a startup, one of the personal lessons that I've had is from day one, please be clear about your finances. What is a unit economics? What takes for you to be profitable at the unit level? Understand that very essentially for us in the services business, for example, our unit of measure is tracked by the number of hours we spend. So in IT industry, our unit economics works on the number of hours per resource, and we bill and charge on that, right? So likewise, in your business, figure out what is the unit economics and at what level can you be profitable. What are the costs and what are the revenues that needs to come in place for that to happen. Um, Third, I would say is have a clear insight or a clear focus on your customer. Um, be fanatic about who your customer is, what they want, what they do, what they eat, who they're working with, who they're talking with. Uh, I don't know if you guys know what a user persona is or a customer persona is, but build out customer personas, understand the demographic, age, likes, dislikes, and be like so obsessed with with your customer that even before you put a feature out, you know what will work and what will not work for them, right? One of the companies that we work with, they're a massive company in the US for selling social media content to real estate agents, and they I think are about a $2 million company at this point, and this whole business was built by just two people, right? And they were able to achieve that scale only and purely because of the amount of insights they had into the real estate market, right? They knew exactly what real estate agents were looking for, what they will buy, what they will not buy, what they will prefer to use, not prefer to use, etc. Right? So be very, very clear as to who your customer is, what their needs are, and look to address those needs. Finally, I said this before, look to build an A team. The team is what finally the product is. Somebody asked Steve Jobs, right, that after Mac was successful, after iPod was successful, somebody asked Steve Jobs which was the best product that he'd ever built, and his answer amazed me, and that's the thing that I live by. He went on to say that the best product that he built was Apple itself, right? The company and the team that he built was the best product that he ever built. And if you're building a company or a business, please remember that your team essentially is the company, is the idea, and is the product. Without your team, you will not be able to go much further, and much ahead. So I think with this, I would sort of end the webinar. I don't know how we're going to be taking questions, but if you have any questions, I would be happy to take them, and we can go from there. Okay, I will. I think maybe wait for a minute and then I will end the stream. You guys can reach out to me at on Facebook at Khuze Siam, KHUZESIAM, and the same handle on Twitter. My email ID is khuze at siamcomputing.com. We are hiring interns for different aspects for engineering, for marketing, for business. If you're interested, check out our website. We have worked with some really cool clients. One of the biggest projects we're doing right now is building a learning management system for the entire Tamil Nadu government schools. We are building an app for one of the leading theater companies in Chennai. We built out products for startups in the US. It's a lot of fun. It's very intriguing. It's something that you'll definitely learn with, and the culture that we have is one of always learning by doing and learning by experimenting. So, if you guys are looking for opportunities to work or intern or just come and learn, our doors are always open. We have space. Feel free. All right. Thank you so much, and I wish you guys the best.